The stars shone brightly over the vast desert plains of Earth's outer colony. The settlement of Arcadia 7 had grown quiet as the twin moons rose high in the sky. Amid the simple domes of the colony, a young human engineer named Kyle worked tirelessly in the power plant repairing the failing energy converters. Kyle loved machines. He loved the hum of the engines, the precise movements of robotic arms, and the satisfaction of seeing systems come alive after long nights of labor. But tonight, something was different. As Kyle wiped the sweat from his brow, a faint glow appeared on the horizon. At first, he thought it was the reflection of the moons on the sand, but the light moved with purpose. Slowly, it grew brighter, pulsating in soft shades of blue and violet. Then, with a low hum that vibrated in the air, a small craft descended near the settlement's boundary. Kyle's heart raced. Visitors were rare this far from the core worlds, and even less common were unannounced arrivals. Curiosity outweighed fear, and he grabbed his utility belt and flashlight, heading toward the strange craft. As he approached, he saw that the ship was unlike any human design he had ever seen. Smooth curves, almost like living bones, reflected the moonlight. A hatch opened silently, and from it stepped a figure that made Kyle stop in his tracks. She was tall and graceful, with skin that shimmered faintly in silver light. Her eyes glowed like stars, and her hair seemed to float as if caught in a gentle wind. She wore a flowing garment that shifted color as she moved, blending elegance with an otherworldly aura. Kyle's mind raced, unable to fully comprehend what he was seeing. "Greetings, human," she said, her voice musical and calm. "My name is Lyra. I am a princess of the Zathari people. I have come seeking your help." Kyle blinked. "Princess? Help? I'm just a mechanic," he stammered. Lyra's eyes softened, but there was a seriousness in them that made Kyle's chest tighten. "You are capable. Humans have a resilience and ingenuity we admire greatly. That is why I have sought you. Will you come with me?" Kyle hesitated. He had heard tales of alien explorers, of diplomacy missions that could change the course of history. Yet the idea of leaving everything he knew, his family, his home, his life on Arcadia 7, was terrifying. Still, something about Lyra's presence inspired trust. He nodded slowly. I will come. But where exactly? And why me?" Lyra smiled faintly. "All will be revealed soon. But first we must leave before the darkness spreads." She gestured to her craft. Kyle took a deep breath and stepped inside. The interior of the ship was warm and bright, with surfaces that seemed alive, pulsing gently with light. Controls were holographic, responding not to touch but to thought. Kyle felt a strange exhilaration. Machines that reacted to intention alone, yet familiar enough to understand. "Your species is remarkable," Lyra said, guiding him to a viewing platform. "Humans are unique. You adapt. You overcome. You care, even when it is difficult. These qualities are rare in the galaxy." Kyle looked at her, surprised. "You admire humans?" Lyra nodded. "More than you know. That is why I need you. My planet, Zathara, is in danger. A darkness spreads across the system, threatening not just my people but countless others. I cannot face it alone. You, human, can make a difference." The words sank into Kyle's mind. He had always imagined himself working quietly in colonies, fixing machines and living a simple life. Adventure had seemed a distant dream, something that happened in stories. Yet here he was, invited by an alien princess to join a mission that could determine the fate of an entire civilization. Before he could respond, the ship began to rise. The desert below shrank quickly and the stars expanded around them. Kyle felt both exhilaration and fear, a thrill he had never experienced. "Where are we going first?" he asked, trying to steady his voice. "Zathara," Lyra replied. "It is not within human reach easily, but my ship can bridge the void. There, you will see the scope of the threat and understand why your abilities are essential." Hours passed, or maybe minutes, Kyle couldn't tell. Space was strange from within Lyra's vessel. Lights shifted like living constellations, and the hum of the engines felt almost like a heartbeat. Finally, a blue and purple orb appeared in the viewing platform's window. "That is Zathara," Lyra said, her voice calm yet tinged with worry. "Once a beacon of knowledge and peace, now it faces a shadow unlike any before." Kale swallowed hard. From orbit, the planet seemed alive with swirling clouds of silver and violet, but there were dark streaks across its surface, spreading like veins. Lyra's expression hardened. "The darkness is a force that devours energy, life and hope," she explained. "It began in the outer rim and spreads inward. My people fight, but we need more than warriors. We need minds that can think differently, solutions that no one has yet imagined. That is why you were chosen." Kyle felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. He was just a mechanic, but Lyra's words made him see that even simple skills could become extraordinary tools when used wisely. The ship descended into Zathara's atmosphere. The surface was strange yet beautiful, a mix of crystalline forests, glowing rivers, and floating mountains. Lyra guided him to a city built high above the ground with towers that glimmered like liquid light. "Welcome to Zephyra," Lyra said. "Here the leaders of our world meet, and from here we plan the defense of Zathara." As they landed, Kale noticed beings of all shapes and sizes moving gracefully between towers. Some had wings of light, others long tails with intricate patterns, yet all carried an air of purpose and intelligence. He realized that the galaxy was far more diverse and magnificent than he had ever imagined. "Come," Lyra said. "The Council awaits. They must see that humans can contribute more than mere strength. They can inspire, invent, and endure." Inside the council hall, Kale met representatives of Zathara. They looked at him curiously, some skeptical, some hopeful. Lyra spoke for him, explaining that he was a human engineer capable of thinking in ways that could overcome the darkness threatening them all. Kale felt nervous, but he also felt a strange confidence. Humans had faced countless challenges on Earth and in colonies across the stars. Perhaps his people's greatest strength was the ability to adapt, to confront uncertainty with creativity and courage. One counselor, a being with crystalline wings that shimmered like dawn, leaned forward. "Human," she said, her voice melodic yet firm, "can you solve problems that have baffled our best minds for decades?" Kale nodded. I don't know yet, but I promise to try. I'll do everything I can to help." Lyra smiled, pride shining in her eyes. "That is enough for now. You are already making a difference simply by being willing to act." As Kale looked out over Zephyra, he realized that his life had changed forever. He was no longer just a mechanic on a quiet colony. He was part of something larger, a story of survival, courage, and the enduring spirit of humanity. The stars above seemed brighter now, not distant points of light but destinations waiting for human ingenuity to touch them. And deep inside, Kale felt a stirring of determination. Whatever challenges awaited, he would rise to meet them. For the first time, he truly understood what it meant to be human in a galaxy full of wonders. Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder. "Rest now, Kyle. Tomorrow, your journey truly begins." Kyle nodded, feeling a mix of exhaustion and excitement. He had no idea what lay ahead, but one thing was certain. Humans had come far, and now, even across the stars, they would continue to shine. The twin moons of Zathara rose over the horizon, casting silver light across the city, and somewhere deep in the cosmos the darkness waited. But humanity, as always, would meet it head-on. The first light of Zathara's dawn painted Zephyra in hues of violet and gold. Kale woke in his quarters, the soft hum of the city echoing through the walls. The previous day's events swirled in his mind. The encounter with Lyra, the council, and the sight of the spreading darkness that threatened an entire world. He felt small and unprepared, yet a strange thrill ran through him. Breakfast was a simple affair, though unlike any Kale had ever known. Floating trays brought nutrient-rich food that adapted to the eater's needs. The council had ensured that visitors like Kale would feel nourished and strong. Lyra joined him, her silver hair glinting in the soft morning light. "Are you ready?" she asked, a gentle smile on her face. Kale nodded, though doubt lingered. "I think so, but I don't even know where to start." Lyra's eyes sparkled. "Then we start with understanding. Knowledge is the first weapon against the darkness." She led him to the Council's archives, a massive chamber filled with floating data spheres. Each sphere contained information, maps, histories, and simulations. Kale marveled at the technology. The data was interactive, responding not to touch, but to thought. As he focused, the spheres shifted, projecting images, equations, and schematics into the air around him. "Humans think differently," Lyra explained. "Your species can make connections that are invisible to others. That is why you are here. You will help us see what we cannot." Hours passed as Kyle absorbed the knowledge of Zathara. He learned about the planet's cities, its energy systems, and the life-sustaining crystals that powered the civilization. The darkness, he discovered, was not a creature but an energy corruption that consumed power and life wherever it touched. Entire regions had already fallen, leaving ghostly landscapes of twisted crystal and empty skies. "Can it be stopped?" Kyle asked, his voice barely a whisper. Lyra nodded, though her expression remained serious. "It can, but it will take ingenuity, courage, and unity. That is why we need humans like you." After the session in the archives, Kale was taken to the training grounds. The Council wanted him to understand Zathara's unique environment, its defenses, and the tools available to combat the darkness. The training grounds were breathtaking. Towering crystalline structures jutted from the ground, glowing faintly in soft light. Floating platforms moved smoothly through the air, and energy conduits hummed with power. Kale's task was to navigate the terrain, learn the technology, and adapt his human ingenuity to alien systems. The first trial was simple in theory: cross a series of moving platforms suspended over a deep chasm of swirling light. Kale leapt carefully, timing his jumps with the slow rise and fall of the platforms. On his first attempt, he slipped, catching himself on an energy rail. His heart pounded, but he did not give up. With focus and determination, he made it across. "You adapt quickly," Lyra said, observing from above. "That is the essence of humanity. Resilience." Next came the test of problem-solving. The Council had placed him in a simulated control room where the energy grids of Zathara were failing. The lights flickered, alarms sounded, and Kyle was told that the darkness had breached a city sector. His task was to reroute energy, stabilize the system, and prevent a collapse. Kyle analyzed the panels, noting the patterns of failure. He applied principles he had used on Earth and Arcadia 7, improvising solutions that the Zathari engineers had not considered. Slowly, the alarms ceased, lights returned to normal, and the simulation ended. The Council members watching nodded in approval. "You see possibilities we cannot," said one, a being with translucent wings that shimmered like rainbows. "Your mind is a gift to this world." Kyle felt a surge of pride, tempered by the gravity of the situation. He was learning fast, but he knew that these trials were just preparation. The darkness in reality would be far more relentless, far more dangerous. Lyra guided him through meditation and focus exercises next. Zathara's energy could be felt, almost like a living presence, and she wanted Kale to attune himself to it. The human closed his eyes, feeling the flow of power beneath his feet, through the ground and into the towering crystals around him. Slowly he began to sense patterns, an ebb and flow of energy that connected the planet like veins. "This is not magic," Lyra said softly. "It is life, and life can be understood. If you listen, the planet itself can guide you." Kyle opened his eyes, amazed at the clarity of thought. He could almost predict the movement of energy through the city. It was subtle, but he realized that he had always thrived on understanding systems, whether machines or networks. Here that skill was magnified, tuned to a scale he had never imagined. As evening approached, Lyra took him to the edge of Zephyra, where the darkness had already begun to spread. The once lush forest of crystal were twisted, blackened, and silent. Kyle's heart sank. The energy corruption moved slowly, but relentlessly, and it seemed almost alive in its determination. "Do not fear it," Lyra said. "Fear clouds the mind. Understand it, adapt to it, and you will find a way to fight." Kyle studied the darkness, noticing subtle patterns. It consumed the smallest energy sources first, then larger ones, but it left gaps, spaces where energy flows intersected in certain ways. He did not fully understand why, but he knew that these gaps could be exploited. Back in the city, Kale shared his observations with the council. They listened intently, and for the first time, he saw hope reflected in their faces. The human mind, with its ingenuity and adaptability, was beginning to provide answers the Zathari had missed. That night, Kyle returned to his quarters, exhausted but exhilarated. He reflected on the day, on the trials, the learning, and the courage it took to step into the unknown. He realized that being human was not a weakness in the galaxy. It was a strength. Lyra visited him before he slept. "You did well today, Kale. Tomorrow you will begin the real work. You will face challenges that cannot be solved with knowledge alone, but you will not face them alone. We will stand together." Kyle nodded, feeling a sense of purpose he had never known. For the first time, he truly understood what it meant to be part of something greater than himself. Humanity's ingenuity, resilience, and courage were not just stories. They were the tools that could change the fate of a world. As he drifted to sleep, Kale thought about the stars. The darkness was vast, the challenge immense, but he felt ready. For humans had always faced impossible odds, and they had always risen to meet them. Here on Zathara, he would do the same. The city of Zephyra glowed softly under Zathara's twin moons. The darkness advanced silently in the distance, unaware that a new force had arrived. A human, armed not with weapons, but with mind, heart, and courage. And somewhere in the city, Lyra watched the horizon, knowing that the alliance between humans and Zathari could turn the tide. The journey had just begun, but the first spark of hope had been lit. The first light of Zathara's morning stretched over the crystalline towers of Zephyra. Kale awoke with a sense of purpose sharper than ever before. The previous day had been full of learning and preparation, but today he would face the unknown. The council had chosen him to lead a small team into the darkness to gather information, a reconnaissance mission that could reveal weaknesses in the energy corruption threatening Zathara. Lyra met him in the training hall, her silver hair glinting in the soft glow of the floating lights. "Kale," she said, her voice calm but firm, "this mission is dangerous, but it is essential. You must observe, analyze, and adapt. You are our greatest hope for understanding the darkness." Kale nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility. "I understand. I'll do my best." The team consisted of Kale, Lyra, and 2 Zathari warriors, beings whose bodies shimmered with crystalline patterns that reflected their surroundings. They were fast, agile, and strong. Kale's human skills complemented theirs in ways that he could already sense. They boarded a small scout craft designed for speed and stealth. As it rose into the skies above Zephyra, Kale felt the familiar thrill of space travel, but also the tension of knowing they were heading toward danger. The scout glided over forests of crystal that stretched like oceans, glowing faintly under the twin suns. But ahead, the darkness spread like a stain, twisting the vibrant landscape into blackened shadows. As they approached, Kyle felt a chill run through him. The darkness seemed alive, moving with intent, devouring energy and leaving nothing in its wake. He remembered Lyra's words. "Do not fear it. Understand it." The craft hovered at the edge of the corruption. Kyle and the team disembarked, their boots crunching over blackened crystal. The air was thick with energy, a heavy, oppressive feeling that made every step a challenge. The first observation point was a once lush valley now consumed by the darkness. The team moved carefully, scanning the terrain with instruments that Kyle quickly learned to operate. Patterns began to emerge, The darkness spread faster along energy conduits, avoiding regions where currents intersected in specific ways. Kale's mind raced. Could these intersections be used to halt or redirect the corruption? One of the warriors, a being with wings, of light, looked at Kale curiously. Human, you notice patterns that others overlook. Can you explain what you see? Kale took a deep breath. It's like a river. The darkness flows along energy lines, but at intersections it slows or changes direction. If we can create artificial intersections, we might be able to stop it or slow it down. Lyra nodded approvingly. Yes, that is exactly the kind of thinking we need. Observation leads to strategy, and strategy leads to hope. Suddenly, a tremor ran through the valley. The darkness surged, sending shards of blackened crystal tumbling. The team scattered, taking cover behind remaining crystalline pillars. Kale's heart pounded as he watched the energy corruption writhe like a living creature. We must move carefully, Lyra said. Do not engage directly. Observe and record. Kale adjusted the instruments, tracing the flow of the darkness as it moved. He noticed subtle changes, flickers of energy that suggested it reacted to the presence of life nearby. Perhaps it sensed threat or resistance. Kyle realized that understanding its behavior was key. Rushing in recklessly would only make it stronger. Team advanced slowly, gathering samples of energy and crystal for study. Kale's human ingenuity proved invaluable. He suggested using reflective panels to redirect ambient energy, creating temporary barriers that allowed the team to move closer, without being consumed. The Zathari warriors followed his lead, impressed by his quick thinking. Hours passed, each step a careful balance of observation and survival. Kyle grew more confident, realizing that humans had a unique ability to improvise under pressure. While the Zathari were powerful, their approaches were precise and traditional. Kale's flexibility allowed them to adapt in real time, making the mission more effective. At a central node, the team paused. The darkness was thick here, concentrated in swirling black energy that pulsed like a heartbeat. Kale examined it closely. The intersections he had noticed earlier were faint here, almost non-existent. We may be able to create one, Kale said, determination lighting his eyes. If we redirect energy from multiple sources, we can form a barrier, just long enough to gather more data and retreat safely. Lyra smiled faintly. Your mind works as we hoped, Kyle. Humans see solutions in ways we do not. Working quickly, Kale directed the placement of energy nodes, guiding the warriors to channel power into precise points. Slowly, a shimmering barrier formed, halting the advance of the darkness. The black waves retreated slightly, giving the team a moment of safety. Kale's chest swelled with pride. They had made progress. Even in the heart of danger, human ingenuity had found a way. But the darkness was not idle. It reacted to the barrier, shifting and surging, trying to find a path through. The air crackled with tension. Kyle realized that this encounter was only a preview of the challenges ahead. To stop the darkness entirely, they would need more than cleverness. They would need endurance, unity, and courage. Night fell over the valley, and the team set up a temporary camp on the edge of the corruption. Kyle studied his notes, recording every detail of the darkness's behavior. Lyra sat beside him, her expression thoughtful. You are learning quickly, she said. But this is only the beginning. The darkness grows, and so must our understanding. Humans are adaptable, but you must also trust your instincts. Kyle nodded. I will. I've realized something. Humans are not the strongest or fastest, but we survive. We see patterns, adapt, and solve problems. That is our strength. Lyra's eyes softened. And that is why you were chosen. Zathara needs more than warriors. It needs thinkers, creators, and hearts willing to endure. That is what humans bring to the galaxy. The night was silent except for the hum of the camp's energy shields. Kyle gazed at the sky, stars twinkling like distant beacons. He thought of Earth, of Arcadia 7, and of the life he had left behind. Yet he felt no regret. Here, in the heart of an alien world, he was part of something larger than himself. He was human, and his species had always found ways to rise to the challenge. As dawn approached, a faint disturbance rippled through the darkness. Kale sensed it before it was visible. The corruption was reorganizing, preparing to surge again. "We must return," Lyra said, her voice urgent but calm. "We have enough data for now. We can use what you've observed to plan the next stage of defense." The return journey was tense. The darkness shifted, testing the team, but Kale's quick thinking and adaptability ensured their safe passage. Back in Zephyra, the council gathered to review the data. Kale presented his findings, explaining the patterns, the intersections, and the potential methods to slow the corruption. The council members exchanged impressed glances. "A human's perspective reveals possibilities we could not see," one said. "This is hope." Kale felt a deep satisfaction, tempered by the understanding that the real battle was only beginning. He had proven that humans could contribute in ways even advanced alien civilizations could not anticipate. But the darkness was still out there, spreading, patient and relentless. Lyra placed a hand on Kale's shoulder. "Rest now, human. Tomorrow, you will lead again. The darkness will test us, but together we will endure. Humanity is not just survival, it is inspiration." Kale nodded, exhaustion and determination mixing in his chest. He had faced the darkness directly, and while it had tested him, he had also seen that human creativity and courage could make a difference. As he closed his eyes, he thought of Earth, of the people who had taught him resilience, and of the stars beyond Zathura. The darkness was vast, but so too was the potential of humanity. And Kale knew, with every fiber of his being, that they could face it, and perhaps even turn the tide. Above Zephyra, the twin moons glimmered, casting silver light over the city. The darkness lurked in the distance, waiting. But for the first time, Kale felt that hope had taken root. Humanity had arrived in the galaxy, and it was ready to shine. The city of Luminara shimmered in the light of Zathara's twin suns. Floating spires of crystal rose above streets glowing with energy, while rivers of luminescent liquid flowed through the city, powering every home, tower, and vehicle. It was a city of life, of beauty, and of hope, but now it was threatened. The darkness, having spread steadily across the land, was approaching Luminara. Reports from the scouts indicated that it would reach the city within hours if nothing was done. Kale stood on a high terrace overlooking the valley below, with Lyra and two of the council's most experienced strategists. His mind raced as he absorbed the information. "We need to act fast," Lyra said, her voice calm yet urgent. "The darkness cannot be stopped by force alone. We must use our knowledge, our ingenuity, and the energy of the city itself to create a barrier." Kyle nodded, thinking of the patterns he had observed during his previous mission. The intersections of energy flows. I think we can use them here too. If we amplify the points where multiple energy currents meet, it could slow or redirect the darkness. One of the strategists, a being with wings like flowing glass, tilted their head. "It has never been tried on this scale. Are you certain?" Kyle swallowed. "I don't know if it will work, but we have no other choice. We have to try." The plan was set into motion immediately. Kyle led a team of engineers and Zathari, workers through the city's energy conduits, identifying the points where energy flows intersected naturally. Using his human understanding of systems and improvisation, he guided them to strengthen these nodes, creating a lattice of energy that could act as a barrier against the darkness. Lyra moved beside him, coordinating the city's defenders. While Kale focused on engineering, she communicated with squads across the city, ensuring civilians were safe and directing forces to protect the energy conduits. Hours passed in tense, meticulous work. Kale climbed the crystalline towers, adjusting nodes, recalibrating energy flows, and improvising solutions when unexpected issues arose. At one point, a conduit began to overload, threatening to collapse a section of the city. Without hesitation, Kyle devised a redirection plan, channeling the energy through nearby circuits and stabilizing the structure. The Zathari watched in awe. "You think quickly, human," one of the warriors said. "That is why you are more than a guest here. You are a protector." Kyle felt a surge of pride, but he knew the true test was yet to come. As the sun began to set, the darkness reached the outskirts of Luminara. From the city walls, Kale and the team could see it moving, a creeping shadow that consumed the land in front of it. The energy barriers they had built glowed faintly, preparing to meet the threat. The first wave of corruption hit the city's defenses. Black tendrils of energy surged forward, colliding with the barriers Kale had created. Sparks of light erupted, where the darkness met the amplified intersections, and for a moment the city held its breath. Kale focused on the energy patterns, noticing how the darkness reacted. It shifted, seeking weaker points, testing for vulnerabilities. He adjusted the conduits in real time, redirecting flows and reinforcing nodes. Slowly, the progress of the corruption slowed. "Keep going," Lyra called from the city walls. "You are doing it, Kale. Hold the line." Hours passed and the night deepened. Kale worked tirelessly, moving from one energy node to another, guiding the defenders, and improvising solutions when unexpected surges occurred. His human adaptability proved invaluable. Where the Zathari might have followed strict protocols, Kale saw possibilities and acted instantly. Finally, a pattern emerged. The darkness hesitated at the intersections Kale had fortified, unable to penetrate the amplified energy fields. The team pushed further, extending the lattice across more of the city. Slowly, the corruption began to retreat, moving around the barriers instead of consuming the city. Kale looked at Lyra, who nodded with approval. "You've done it. Humanity has made the difference here." But the night was far from over. A new, more concentrated surge of darkness appeared, denser and faster than before. It moved with intent, targeting the city's energy heart, a massive crystalline generator at the city's center. If the generator fell, the city would lose power and the darkness would sweep through unhindered. Kale's heart raced. "We have to protect the generator. That is the key." He dashed toward the center with a team of engineers, while Lyra directed the defenders to hold the outer barriers. The approach to the generator was treacherous. Shards of blackened crystal erupted from the ground as the darkness advanced, and the air crackled with raw energy. Kale's team moved swiftly, erecting temporary conduits and amplifiers to shield the generator. Kale climbed onto a platform, above the generator, analyzing the energy flows, his mind working faster than ever. "We need to synchronize all nodes," he shouted to the team below. "Connect them in a network. Amplify the energy at the intersections. It's the only way to hold the darkness back." The engineers worked under his guidance, connecting circuits and calibrating amplifiers. Kale focused on the generator itself, using every skill he had learned to stabilize its core. Energy surged, flowing through the city like a river of light, forming a radiant barrier around the heart of Luminara. The darkness attacked, but the city's defenses held. Black tendrils struck the barriers and recoiled, unable to breach the human-engineered lattice. Kale felt exhaustion clawing at him, but he did not stop. Every adjustment, every connection mattered. Lyra joined him, her hands glowing with energy. Together, they reinforced the barriers, blending human ingenuity with Zathari power. Slowly, the surge of darkness began to falter, unable to find a path into the city's heart. The first light of dawn broke over Luminara, illuminating the city in radiant colors. The darkness retreated, leaving behind twisted fragments but unable to penetrate the defenses. Kale stood atop the generator platform, breathing heavily but filled with triumph. Lyra smiled, her eyes shining with pride. "You have done it, Kyle. Humanity has protected this city. Your mind, courage, and determination have made all the difference." Kyle looked around at the city, the defenders, and the people emerging cautiously from their shelters. He felt a deep sense of accomplishment. Humans were not the strongest or fastest, but they could adapt, create, and inspire hope. The council gathered soon after to commend Kale's efforts. Representatives of the city and the warriors of Zathura praised him for his ingenuity and bravery. Kyle felt a surge of pride but remained humble. He knew that the battle was far from over. The darkness still existed, still threatened countless lives, and still required vigilance and courage. "You have proven that humans are a force in this galaxy," Lyra said, addressing the council. "They do not just survive, they innovate, inspire, and endure. Kale's work today is proof that humanity's spirit is invaluable." Kale smiled faintly, exhausted but determined. He thought of Earth, of his home on Arcadia 7, and realized that humans carried that same resilience wherever they went. Even across the stars, their ingenuity could shine. That night, Kale stood on a terrace overlooking the city. The darkness had retreated into the distance, but he knew it would return. Yet for the first time he felt that victory was possible. Humanity had left its mark on Zathara, not just as visitors, but as protectors, thinkers, and allies. Lyra joined him silently. "Tomorrow we plan the next stage," she said. "The darkness is patient, but so are we, and now we have humans by our side." Kyle nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility, but also the thrill of purpose. Humanity had arrived on Zathara, and for the first time the galaxy truly knew what human courage, creativity, and determination could achieve. As he gazed at the twin moons, casting silver light over the city, Kale realized that this was only the beginning. The darkness would challenge them again, but he was ready. Humans had always risen to challenges beyond imagination, and now they would rise for Zathara too. The city of Luminara glowed in the dawn light, a beacon of hope in a galaxy threatened by darkness. And at the heart of it, a human engineer had proven that even one person, with courage, creativity, and determination, could make a difference. The city of Luminara had survived the first wave of the darkness, but Kale knew the real challenge was yet to come. Intelligence reports indicated that the corruption was reorganizing, forming a concentrated storm that could overwhelm the city's defenses if left unchecked. Every mind in Zephyra was focused on strategy, and every hand worked to prepare for the coming battle. Kale stood with Lyra atop a crystalline tower overlooking the city. The twin suns cast long, violet shadows across the glowing streets. The air hummed with energy and anticipation. "This is it," Lyra said, her voice steady but filled with resolve. "Tonight we face the darkness as it has never been faced before. Your insight will guide us, Kyle. Are you ready?" Kyle took a deep breath. "I've learned a lot since I arrived. I know what humans can do. We adapt, we think, we endure. I'm ready." Lyra nodded. "Then let us begin." The plan was ambitious. Kale had studied the darkness closely during his missions, observing its patterns, its weaknesses, and its reactions. The council had agreed that his human perspective was invaluable. Together, Kale and the Zathari engineers designed a network of energy conduits, amplifiers, and intersections that would create a citywide barrier, strong enough to repel the darkness but flexible enough to allow them to strike at its source. As night fell, the first tendrils of corruption appeared on the horizon. The darkness pulsed like a living creature, creeping forward with relentless intent. Citizens of Luminara watched from behind protective barriers, while warriors and engineers worked tirelessly to finalize the defenses. Kyle moved quickly through the city, guiding the placement of amplifiers and intersections. His human ingenuity allowed him to solve problems on the spot, improvising solutions when the standard Zathari methods were insufficient. Where the darkness tested their lines, Kale found new ways to stabilize and redirect energy. Hours passed, and the darkness advanced, steadily. Its tendrils struck the outer defenses, testing for weaknesses. Sparks and bursts of light filled the city's streets as energy collided with corruption. Kale focused, adjusting nodes, analyzing patterns, and directing forces with precision. "Human," one of the Zathari warriors shouted. "The southern quadrant is weakening." Kale dashed toward the affected area. The darkness was thick here, swirling and pulsing as if aware of their efforts. He analyzed the energy flows, noticing a subtle imbalance. With a few rapid adjustments, he redirected power through auxiliary conduits, reinforcing the barrier and halting the corruption's advance. Lyra appeared beside him, her hands glowing with controlled energy. "You are incredible, Kyle. Your mind is the weapon we needed." Kale nodded, though exhaustion tugged at him. He could feel the strain of working at this scale, but he also felt the determination of a species that had always faced impossible odds. Humans were not invincible, but they could think, adapt, and inspire others to rise with them. The darkness grew more aggressive, striking with force that shook the city's foundations. Kyle realized that holding it back was only half the battle. They needed to strike at its source. Using his knowledge from reconnaissance missions, he identified a central node where the corruption's energy converged. "This is it," Kyle said. "If we disrupt this node, we can weaken the entire darkness. But it will be dangerous." Lyra's eyes met his. "Then we go together, humanity and Zathara side by side." The team prepared for the mission. Kyle and Lyra, supported by a squad of elite Zathari warriors, navigated the glowing streets and energy conduits toward the corruption's heart. The closer they got, the more oppressive the darkness became. Air vibrated with energy, and shadows shifted as if alive. Finally, they reached the central node, a massive crystalline structure consumed by swirling black energy. The corruption pulsed violently, reacting to their presence. Kyle could feel its intent, its hunger, and its power. But he also felt something else, a weakness in its structure, an opportunity. Kale directed the team to deploy amplification nodes around the central structure. Using every skill he had learned, he synchronized energy flows, forming intersections and channels to destabilize the corruption. Sparks flew as energy collided with darkness, but the plan worked. The node began to falter, weakening the spread of corruption. The darkness reacted, surging outward in a desperate attempt to survive. Tendrils lashed at the city, but Kyle and Lyra focused the energy of their allies, pushing back with precision and courage. Each strike, each adjustment, each decision mattered. Humanity and Zathara were fighting as one. Kyle noticed subtle patterns in the corruption's movements, moments when it paused, flickers that suggested it was reorganizing. He used these moments to strengthen the nodes, redirecting energy through newly formed intersections. Slowly, the darkness began to crumble, unable to maintain its cohesion against the combined forces of human ingenuity and Zathari power. Finally, Kale saw an opening, a critical point in the central node where a coordinated surge of energy could break the corruption entirely. He signaled to Lyra and the warriors. "Now! Focus all power here." Energy surged through the city, funneled into the central node with perfect timing. The darkness shrieked. A soundless vibration felt through every crystal and conduit. The black tendrils writhed, faltered, and then began to dissipate. Light returned to the valley, spilling over Luminara as the corruption retreated, vanishing into distant shadows. Kyle fell to his knees, exhausted but triumphant. Around him, the city's defenders cheered, and citizens emerged to witness the victory. Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder, her eyes shining with gratitude and pride. "You did it, Kale," she said softly. "You have shown the galaxy the power of humanity, not through strength alone, but through mind, courage, and heart." Kale looked around at the glowing city, the repaired energy nodes, and the people who had endured the night. He realized that humans were not just survivors. They were innovators, problem solvers, and inspirers of hope. Across the stars, their presence could change the course of events in ways even advanced civilizations could not anticipate. The council gathered to celebrate the victory. Kyle was honored as a hero, but he remained humble. He knew the battle had been won through teamwork, through the combination of human ingenuity and Zathari strength. Still, he felt proud that humanity's unique perspective had made the difference. Lyra addressed the council and the citizens. "Today, we have witnessed something remarkable. Humans, though far from home, have proven that they can face impossible challenges and succeed. Kale's courage and mind have inspired us all. Let this be a reminder that unity, intelligence, and heart can overcome any darkness." Kale felt a warm sense of accomplishment, tempered by the understanding that vigilance would always be necessary. The galaxy was vast and dangers would rise again. But for now, Zathara was safe, and humans had earned their place among the stars as protectors, innovators, and allies. As he stood on a terrace overlooking Luminara, Kyle reflected on his journey. From a humble engineer on Arcadia 7 to a key figure in a galactic struggle, he had grown in ways he could never have imagined. The darkness had tested him, but it had also revealed the best of humanity: resilience, creativity, and courage. Lyra joined him in silence, gazing at the horizon. Tomorrow we rebuild, and the day after we prepare for whatever comes next, but tonight we celebrate. Humanity and Zathara stand together. Kyle smiled, feeling the weight of responsibility, the thrill of purpose, and the quiet pride of accomplishment. He had learned that humans were capable of extraordinary things even in the vast, mysterious galaxy, and as he looked at the stars above, he knew this was only the beginning. The twin moons rose over Luminara, casting silver light across the city. The darkness had retreated, but the galaxy was full of challenges yet to come. Kale felt ready. Humanity had arrived, and wherever the stars led, they would continue to shine. And for the first time, Kale truly understood what it meant to be human in a universe full of wonders. Not just survivors, not just thinkers, but lights in the dark, able to endure, inspire, and change the course of history. Zathara was safe for now, but with humans like Kale by their side, the people of the galaxy could face any darkness with courage and hope.